contest page and enter for your chance to win tickets to see your Minnesota Wild take on the Utah Hockey Club on January 23rd. Thanks to Custom One Exteriors, the official home partner of the Minnesota Wild. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter.
Yes, I do know how to bookmark articles. I just don't know how to find them after I bookmark. But what I do is I send them to me. You know, like Tennessee, I have all these different contacts. So like if I get a text from you, it says Tennessee and there's a text, and I can send you a text or send you an article. I can send them to myself, and that's what I do. And then sometimes I just forget which article had what information. It's the same as bookmarking. I was lied to. I was told. I think you might have been one of those guys too, but maybe not. I don't want to put you in that category yet. Oh, that 12-team NCAA college football tournament will solve all of our problems. The best 12 teams will be there, and everything will be good, and we can have a real, true champion. Well, Miami, Alabama, Ole Miss got jobbed. All three of those teams deserve to be in. What's SMU doing in there? SMU didn't play anybody. Indiana? I know one loss. They've not beaten anybody. Who makes the decision? Who are the 2, 3, 13, 14 people that make these decisions? I think the only solution is 64-team tournament. And we also have 65, 66, 67, and 68 and call those play-in games.
Yeah.
Not only that, Tennessee, but I think it should be best 2 out of 3 double elimination round robin tournament.
Brilliant!
Then we can crown a true champion.
Above average at that.
How many games are these kids going to play if they get to the championship? They're playing more games than they play in the NFL.
Well, they could play 4 if you didn't get one of the top 4 seeds. You don't have a bye.
So you're playing, and you generally play 12 games, right? In a season, don't college teams play 12?
And then if you're in a conference championship,
so they're playing as many games as they play in the National Football League. When do they have time to study?
Yeah, do you think they study?
Well, don't some of them? I mean, not every kid on every team thinks he's going to be the next Deion Sanders, the next Sam or Darnold Schwarzenegger. Hasta la vista, baby. Do they ever study? I mean, not everybody's going to the NFL. I think most of them know they're not going.
Isn't that what the plane rides are for?
Baby brother Peter, with this finance degree at The Ohio State University, he comes home, pick him up at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport on Saturday. Soon as he gets home, hugs mom, talks a little bit. She makes lunch. He goes into the office and starts doing schoolwork. On the way to the golf course yesterday, going down to Montgomery, he's got the notebook out and he's studying. He gets up this morning, hits the books. He's on winter break and he has to study. I go, do you ever not study? He goes, no. It's constant. The competition in finance, he'd like to get into investment banking, which is really hard to get into because everybody wants to get into it because that's where the money is, apparently. And it's like, there's 35 other people in his like finance club, and they went to Chicago to meet with bankers, and they're all looking for the same internships, all looking for the same jobs. Your resume, he even says, like, maybe I'm giving too much personal information, but he ended up getting like a 32 on his ACT. And he told me, well, I had a 30. Yeah, but here's what he said. I had a 32, and I thought, well, that's good enough. Most of the people I know are getting 25s and 26s. He goes, I had no idea that I should have got, because he says, I think I could have got a 35 or a 36. And when you're competing against all these other kids, and now you're finding out some of these kids, yeah, I've got a 34 or a 35 or a 36. You're going, oh, that's just one more thing. That's a leg up, right? When you're putting your resume together. I told him, just go the easy route. Just drop out like I did. Tune in, turn on, drop out.
Sounds like he's got that cold work ethic
Wait.
that you're known for.
Yes, indeed, he does. I don't know where he got it. Must have got it from mom. I think he's got a bit more than Deuce, too. Because, I mean, Deuce does put in the work, but Deuce ain't.
He ain't putting in that much.
When I see him come back from spring for winter break, he ain't studied. He might do a little bit, but Pete's like, he's probably studying right now. I am proud of them, but man, it's crazy.
Deuce reminds me of myself, where you do just enough to get by. And Babe Brother Peter reminds me of my wife.
Yeah, I think that would probably be really.
And then you look at where we both are in our lives, and it makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
Peter's doing it the right way.
He is doing it the right way, and hopefully it works out for him in the long run. I do the 64 team tournament tongue in cheek just because I was, said me, I love being contrarian, and I really did just kind of like somebody else wrote a similar story that I stumbled across over the weekend, and I have no idea. I didn't save it, and I didn't bookmark it, and I didn't send it to myself. And I shouldn't admit this working at the All Sports Station, but I just kind of skimmed it. But he kind of had my take about, back in the good old days, because what's wrong with just, you have you play your 12-game schedule, you have your conference championship, right? Your conference championship game, and then you get invited to bowl games, and then the season's over. Why does there have to be, they're the champion of college football? Why can't they just be, we won the Big Ten and we won our bowl game?
Could you say about any sport? They all have.
You could. But football used to do it that way. They were the only ones that did it that way. College football, that's the way they used to do it. They didn't have a playoff. And it wasn't broke.
They let media decide who was the best team.
Well, you can let coaches do it if you want. Coaches that aren't involved. I don't care who you want to vote. Let fans vote. I don't know. And I'm not suggesting that this isn't that I'm not calling for the abolishment of the football playoffs. I just don't think this really determines. And then how about your team, your Colorado Buffalo Club?
Yeah.
They're playing BYU. Haven't they already played them twice this year? They're in the same conference, right? So they've already played. There are a lot of Buffalo fans, Colorado fans, and maybe there's BYU fans that are annoyed too. It's like, I compared it to, speaking of Baby Brother Peter, we'd go all over the country and play in these AAU tournaments, right? You go to Atlanta, and you'd go to Las Vegas and Dallas and Denver and Indianapolis and Chicago and playing all these tournaments, right? So the very last AAU tournament was in, we go down to Atlanta, Georgia. I think I've told this tale on the radio before. So it's this very last one. We go down to Atlanta, and they've got the last game of the evening, 9:00. Okay, and the facility we're playing in, I think it has like 12 courts. Okay, it's a big place, 12 courts, and it just so happened that it poured in Atlanta that day. I mean, I was driving through rain where I felt like I better pull over. It was coming down so hard, right? But Skip Arbor Racing School graduate, I didn't need to, but a lot of other people did. There was a leak in the roof, and it just happened to be over the court that we were going to play that 9:00 game in. And so the games got behind on that court. So by the time our game started, every other court was empty. It was just dark in there except for one little spot where they had the spotlights over it, right? And we're playing another team from Minnesota. So 2 Minnesota teams in the last game. We're thinking, we came all the way from Atlanta for this? We just thought it was preposterous. And if I'm thinking to myself, we played all these games, we could go to a bowl game, we're going to play BYU again? Why didn't you put them up against Miami, who didn't make the NCAA tournament? Put them up against Ole Miss. Put them up against somebody different.
Yeah.
Why do you want to play the same team? That'd be like Minnesota playing Wisconsin in the Dunkin' Donuts Bowl. Now, I bet there's some Gopher fans that would like to take it to Wisconsin again. Let's use a different one. Play against Rutgers. Why would we want to play Rutgers again? That doesn't make any sense.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Let's say it was Wisconsin. Is that an axe game? Or does that not count because it's a bowl game? What do you do with the trophy when any of these trophy games? So, would the Gophers just have the axe for a month or so, and then, Wisconsin won, let's give it right back to them?
Those lumberjack saws, I would just make that the trophy. Make it a different one. But, have it to do with taking down trees. Maybe have a Babe the Blue Ox trophy and say it's for Babe. Because you're right, I don't know if it could be a...
It'd be very controversial.
It's almost too controversial. I can't believe you even allowed me to talk about it. So anyways, I just wouldn't want to play a team I've already played. It just doesn't seem to make any sense. Now, if you're in the NCAA basketball tournament and you get invited and you're in the bracket, and all of a sudden in the Sweet 16, let's say it'd be too much of a stretch to say the Gophers. So let's say you're Michigan State in the Sweet 16 and you got to play Scotty? Well, that's the way it goes. I mean, that's the way the bracket turned out. But Dolphins and let's pick two teams that play in a bowl game. Let's pick two teams that are in the same conference. That makes a lot of sense. I just don't understand how it went that way. It's controversial is what it is. Let's pause. Come back. More Viking talk for sure. Want to talk a little bit about the Wolves, and I found some other odds and ends to get to as well. This is the Common Man Program right here on the Common Man Program on the Fan.
Come hang with the Power Trips Meat Sauce at Malone's tomorrow night for Coors Light Hockey Night at 6:30 p.m. Watch Minnesota take on Utah while playing hockey trivia for your shot at sweet tickets to the January 9th game against Colorado. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Do you think the Power Trip Morning Show will give away spots in the hospital room or Meat Sauce's wife will be giving birth? I wouldn't put it past him. I don't think that's going to happen, but matter of fact, if I could have made $1 off of it when Deuce and baby brother Peter were born, I would have been all in. Attend to me, I'm going to play a game with you. It's called Program Password.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a word, and then you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Common. Or just program. Go with accuracy.
Accuracy.
See, accuracy is our middle name, and we're always accurate in what we do. I may be unprepared, uninformed, and unapologetic, but I'm always accurate, so here is a correction. BYU did not play Colorado this year, I'm told, but they are in the same conference. I do know that. They are in the Big 12. So it's still... just because he didn't play him this year, I don't want to play a team in the same conference.
I also think it's like weird, and the Big Ten's in this boat as well. Conferences where you don't play every team in your conference.
Yes.
Like, how do you come up with a true, legit, fair champion? You can't.
This would have been a year where I think if they did it the old-fashioned way, I guess Oregon would have been named the national champion, and it'd be hard to argue, right? They're the only undefeated team. That could change, though. I don't think it's a complaint from Oregon, but some of the so-called experts and observers of college football say that if you look at the bracket, Oregon's got a really tough.
Yes. Well, they got Ohio State. They'd
have to play Ohio State. If they both win their first game, or if Ohio State wins their first game, they'll play Oregon. And remember, Oregon was pushed by Wisconsin, believe it or not. I think they had to hang on to beat Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. But their closest game was like week 2 or week 3 of the regular season when they lost to the Ohio State, or they beat Ohio State by a point. So they got a tough road to get to the. But you know what, enemy? We wouldn't have it any other way. Wolves talk. This is I would hope are there other people that get as frustrated? I love the Wolves, right? Where does Ant live?
Rent-free in your head.
And he probably lives rent-free in other people's heads. And I love the Wolves. Nobody had more fun than you and I as we made that march to the Western Conference Finals, coming back from a 3-2 deficit in the semifinals to beat the defending world champion Denver Nuggets, and one of the best comebacks in the history. We were down by 20-plus points to Denver in that 7th and deciding game and came back to win. Then we got it handed to us by Dallas, but last year we got to the door. No, 2 years ago we got to the door. Last year we knocked on it. We were going to kick it in this year. And three days before the season starts, we make the blockbuster trade. Bodega Cat, formerly known as Big Meow, goes to New York. We get DiVincenzo and Julius Randle back, and there were some other odds and ends, draft picks or something, that were involved as well, and one other player. And it didn't start out as well as it should have, and people kept telling me, calm down, relax. It takes a while for new pieces to gel with the old pieces. Heck, 3 days before the regular season started, you put 2 new guys with them, and then my question was, well, how long does it take to gel? Nobody had a number for me. Did I say, is it 5 games? Nobody said yes or no. 10? Nobody said yes or no. 20? I mean, how many? No one seemed to have an answer for me until they just won their last 4 in a row, and then everybody said, see, Common, they've gelled now. They've gelled. They gelled until last night, or yesterday afternoon. Headline, Fish Wrap, West Side. Chris Hine writes, Golden State ends Timberwolves streak, and Anthony Edwards goes silent. Edwards skipped post-game interviews for fear he'd curse and draw a fine. Coach Chris Finch had some dirty words of his own. Hero shot after hero shot.
Yeah.
Dateline San Francisco, where people put flowers in their hair, right across from Tiburon in the Golden Gate Bridge. Anthony Edwards declined to speak to reporters after the team's 114-106 loss to the Warriors Sunday night, citing fines he has recently received for cursing during his post-game interviews. Well, then don't curse. See, he was worried he was going to curse again. Could he just say, I'm not going to curse? Like Tennessee, you know me. You've spent time with me outside the radio station. I'm not proud of my potty mouth, but I can throw around. When I play with rubes in golf that have bid on me in some charity auction, we get out there and I throw an F-bomb out on a shot, they go, God, I've never heard you say that word. Well, of course, I don't say it on the radio. Yeah. I can't. Lose my job. So can't you control yourself in an interview process?
Amazing you're disciplined enough to do that.
So can't you do that in an interview process? Why can't you do that? It's not that hard.
It shouldn't be that hard.
No, it's not hard. You just don't do it. He doesn't want to get fined again, and he likely was going to curse after the way he played in the fourth quarter. A little bit of a cheap shot there. It should be noted that players are also susceptible to fines for declining to do post-game interviews when requested per their contracts. And remember we talked about that with head coaches of the NFL? I said, I know contractually they're obligated. I just don't know how often. But it's obvious that as part of your 200 and what did Ant sign? 245 million, 250? As part of that, hey, could you talk to the media after the games if they want you? It shouldn't seem too difficult. Not only couldn't he do it, but his excuse for not doing it is because I can't do one without swearing. Edwards forced up a number of shots in the fourth quarter and was 1 for 7 with 2 turnovers, whereas Coach Finch said just hero shot after hero shot. Now, Edwards was speaking, or not Edwards, Julius Randle was answering a question, and then in the background, Edwards decided he wanted to say something. He said, I just got to play better. I got to find my teammates when they put 3 or 4 on me. Terrible by me. Edwards was 27-6 and 6 turnovers, 6 assists. Wasn't alone in needing to own up to his mistakes on Sunday night, especially when the Wolves allowed 44 points in the third quarter. Is that a record in the National Basketball Association? 44. The defense that had propelled them to a 4-game win streak vanished as Golden State pushed the tempo even after makes and dead ball turnovers. Steph Curry torched them for 30 points, Buddy Hield took advantage of that lackluster transition defense for 27 points on 7 threes. Finch said, normally there's like 1 point in the game I like to point to where you lose the game. But this had 2. First was the start of the third quarter. They had 10 transition baskets, I think, to start in the first 5 or 6 minutes, and a lot of them came after we had scored, which is inexcusable. We did a really good job with our half-court defense. They decided they needed to push the tempo, and we did not answer the bell.
By the way, the record is 55 points in a quarter, set by the Golden State Warriors.
Against the Minnesota Timberwolves. No.
Against the Portland Trail Blazers.
The Wolves relinquished 19 second chance points and 19 fast break points. These are the areas of the Wolves' defense most vulnerable to attack when they aren't dialed in the way they were the past few games. They give up the glass, and they are a step slower getting back. That was the issue of the first 3 quarters before sloppy offense doomed them in the fourth. Why would they go back to that way of playing defense? If they were able to do it for 4 games in a row, why couldn't they do it? And don't tell me it was because, different team. No, it was Golden State, the team they played 2 nights before and completely shut down, held them to 90 points. They were emptying the bench against Golden State. Now, Golden State, what were they doing the game before? Now, their excuse could be, this is the one I love. Well, they were playing, that was the second day of that was the back end of back-to-backs. The back end. When the Wolves beat the Clippers were coming off back end, the back-to-backs. Isn't it nice to have a built-in excuse when you lose a game? So what happened tonight? Well, they had 2 days off. We played the night before, so we're tuckered. Okay. Let's just say that every time, and after a while the media just starts, Instead of you stop challenging it anymore, right? How many times can you go up to the guy and say, really, do you really feel that way? I mean, a lot of teams win the second game on back-to-backs. What happened? But then you just get the same old rigmarole, the same old fumblerooski, and you just finally say, well, I'm not even going to press that question anymore. I'll just write down. You could just write the excuse down ahead of time. Wolves lost, comma, according to the team, comma, because they were on back-to-back nights or whatever. Fill in your blank with any NBA team. The Wolves will have 4 days to move on from this loss and are 12-1 as they enter that break in the schedule. What kind of a break is it for? Are we doing some kind of this? Is this that tournament?
The NBA Cup.
They created a tournament to make the guys try hard at the beginning of the season. That's why they did the tournament.
To make November and December games mean something.
Yeah, because otherwise they were meaningless.
Yes.
As they left San Francisco, the players who did speak said they felt the team was in a good place despite Sunday's result, that the Wolves had turned the corner on their season after a tough few weeks. They just forgot what got them to that point on Sunday. Gobert said, I like where we're at, not in terms of the standings, but more in terms of the things we've been through as a team and our awareness right now. Game like tonight, we can exactly feel what happened. With that mindset, I think good things will happen. Now we just got to keep each other accountable. How many times have we heard that line? And not just from the Wolves. We'll pause, return. Let's talk Vikings football. And a couple other controversial topics that I've stumbled across. That's next. Common Man program on the Fan.
Ready to experience the magic of James Taylor live in concert. Don't miss out on seeing the legendary singer-songwriter along with his all-star band when they take the stage at XL Energy Center on June 17th. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Get all the details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
I just happen to have a pair of them in my pocket right now, Tennessee.
Really?
I want to give them away to a listener.
That's really kind of you.
Thank you very much. I'm doing it as a favor to our many listeners. Tennessee just gave the information. It's a June 17th concert. Tickets do go on sale this Friday, but I got a pair right now to the 11th caller, 1-800-320-5326, 1-800-320-5326. The 11th caller will get a pair of tickets to see James Taylor and his all-star band June 17th at the Fuse Box, courtesy of James Taylor himself, the XL Energy Center, KFAN, and all of us here on the Common Man program. So thank you very much. A couple of text messages I'd like to address while Tennessee gives away a pair of tickets before I welcome him back into the conversation. This one says, who cares about players' comments after the game? I'll read that again. Who cares about players' comments after the game? They're just young guys trying not to sound whiny and take some responsibility. They're not paid PR sports people. Good Lord. Like what I'm suggesting is just so patently absurd that you'd like to hear from the players when things go wrong. I mean, it's in their contract that they need to talk to the media because the media wants to give the information to the fans. Most fans want to hear from the participants, win, lose, or draw. What does it mean? Who cares about what the players' comments are after the game? Have you ever heard anything more? That's what's absurd. Of course you want to hear. I do. I like to hear what they have to say. That's why we call it. Well, all right, part of the reason we do the Kevin O'Connell news conference is so I can eat my lunch. But it's like, I like to hear what they say, what they're thinking, what went into the game. And if you don't, I think text messenger guys in the minority. And they're not just young guys trying not to sound whiny. And now he's basically, here's what he's trying to say. I know why they don't, because they're young guys trying not to sound whiny and take some responsibility. But when you keep taking responsibility over and over and over again, but the same results keep happening over and over and over again, I find it interesting, to say the least. Here's another, and we've gone through this before. This is from Rick. Amazing comment. How can you be critical of the Timberwolves and you've never watched a game? Sounding fraudulent. Boom, Rick. And he's got like...
Boom.
Yeah, boom. And
roasted.
Yeah, is that what that means? I didn't need to see the game. That's what you do. Don't people understand? Tim, did you see any of the battles of World War II? You still know what happened,
Yeah,
right?
I didn't see any of it.
Yeah. I know you weren't around in the 1800s, so you didn't see the Egyptians build the pyramids. But you still know what went into building the pyramids. You've seen the pyramids. I don't need to see a game when I see the gamer, when Chris Hine explains to me that they gave up 44 points in the third quarter. I don't need to see every one of those baskets go, count them, let's see. That's 22, 25, 27. Keeping, like I got an abacus out and I'm counting the amount of points they're giving up. I don't need to see it. I just need to know it. And then when you hear the coach basically say, hero shot after hero shot after hero shot, and the culprit of the hero shot says, yeah, I need to pass the ball more. I know what happened. I didn't see it, so I can't comment on it. It's the most preposterous thing I've ever heard. Maybe it's hard for people. They have to watch the game to understand, and maybe I'm different that way. I know I'm built different. Maybe the esoteric approach is just something. I know people can't wrap their arms around it. I know they can't. Never seen anything like it. Here's another. At 11:09 today on the project, PA asked Parker Fox what happens at road shoot-arounds. He replied, this is what Parker Fox said, my good friend Parker Fox. Indiana is an Adidas school, and we're a Nike school, so the balls are a bit different, and it takes some getting used to. Now, I've heard that before.
I always love that one.
We know in football it is. Tom Brady needed just enough air taken out of his football so he could throw it easier, right? But Tennessee, I'll use you and I as an example. I'll use me. You can weigh in on this if not. I can shoot 75, 76. Go ahead and hit the horn. With a Titleist Pro V1. I can do it with a Bridgestone BSX. I can do it with a TaylorMade 5 TPT. I can do it with a Shrixon. I can do it with a Callaway Super Soft.
Vice.
Could do it with a Vice. Could do it. I could do it with a Max Fly. Maybe I'm different that way. It doesn't matter what golf and you could just hand me one at the tee. Say, I'm gonna have to go chip and putt this a little bit to get used to the kind of golf ball that is. Once you're a player, and I don't need to get used to a different kind of golf ball.
Now, that being said,
yeah.
Why is that allowed to have different teams have different like shouldn't there be one NCAA college basketball that this is the ball every team's got to play with? Like, you don't go to Major League Baseball and at Target Field you play with this type of baseball.
A Wilson or a Rollins.
And then when you go to Detroit, you go to it's a different texture on the ball. That's just not how it works.
No.
Hockey pucks, they're all the same. There might be a different logo on top of it, but they're all the same.
Pucks are made out of rubber. Did Goodyear and Bridgestone make those, and they're different? Some have different tread on them. It just doesn't.
Why are we playing with different basketballs?
I don't know.
That should not be allowed.
They have to spread the wealth, I guess. They don't want to give anybody a monopoly. That still doesn't make any sense to me. I think I'm with you on that.
Like every NFL football is the same, right? Or are they based off of what location you're at? They play with a different type of ball.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Really doesn't make any sense. Darnold Schwarzenegger. Hasta la vista, baby.
I think it's Asta. But
is it Asta?
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said Hasta.
Oh.
The H is silent.
Oh, is it?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Why is there an H there? Doesn't really make any sense to me. A lot of people are saying.
I always love that one.
You know what the worst thing about Victoria's Secret is? They won't let you try anything on. Breaking news. What you got?
Yeah, this comes from Dan McNeil, whose Twitter account or X account is at Danny Mac Show. I don't know who this guy is, but He does have 30-some thousand followers. He was retweeted by one Pete Bursich, so I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Must be a Bears guy. Sources confirm these 4 coaches are on the Bears list for head coach. Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, Joe Brady, Mike Vrabel. They may want to talk to more candidates, but they're targeting these 4 more as soon as I get it. Hashtag I bear witness. So your guy Ben Johnson and our guy Brian Flores.
Yeah.
Not surprising, but...
No, not as surprising in any way, shape, or form. What's interesting is Ben's offensive coordinator. B-Flow's defense. Who are the other 2? Who are the other names?
Joe Brady and Mike Vrabel. Vrabel was the former Titans coach.
Yeah, and what is he?
He was he played linebacker when he was
so
for
do
the
we think
Patriots.
he was
He's a defensive guy, yeah.
Okay, and then who's the other? Brady? What does he do for?
I forget Joe Brady. Did he coach at Carolina? I don't remember where he coached.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. Offensive guy then.
Is Vrabel in the league right now?
What about Daniel Jones, Teneby? What if Danny Jones would have been drafted by the Vikings? We'll find out. He's with us now, right? Didn't we sign Danny Jones to the practice
he's on the
squad?
roster.
How about, did I mention Drew Lock? What about Drew Lock? How do we know that if Drew Lock wouldn't have been drafted by the Vikings? Again, it was different times. I get it, different eras, different times. That was a few years back. But we had this, Teneby and I we had a conversation earlier about, KOC's getting a lot of credit for the success of Sam Darnold here in Minnesota. It was called by one of the reporters today. They said, your reputation around the league, and I'm paraphrasing, but your reputation around the league is that you are the quarterback whisperer. And he didn't deny it. And asked him what he does. And he just says, well, what I try to do is, he goes, I wish I would have done some of the things when I played. But he says he tries to take a look at all the minutiae and the little things. And then, because they're all important to the game, and he works with these guys. And so that got me to thinking that if he was able to do that with Sam Darnold, and, he gets credit. I mean, wasn't he in Los Angeles when Jared Goff flourished there with the Rams at first?
Went to a big game. And, he gets a lot of credit for Pasternaut having that nice little stretch. Now, it didn't pan out. I mean, I've been doing a little bit sarcastically about, I did the bit earlier where I said, why don't we just get an underachieving quarterback on the cheap every single year? Just rotate him in, because it doesn't matter. Because once they get with KOC, their eyes and their feet align, and voila, we get a guy like Sam Darnold that's really spinning it. But if he is as good as he is, think of all these guys that just never had that opportunity. Remember Josh Rosen? Wasn't he 10th overall? Yes. They were basically done with him after 1 year, because then they got the number 1 overall pick, and they took Kyler Murray the year after.
I bet Rosen's out of the league, right? Or is he somewhere?
Oh, yeah, he's out of the league.
He's out of the league. But how do we know? How do we know he couldn't have been a star in another system? Here's another example. Mitch Trubisky. Was his first year he was brilliant? They went 12-4 and he was really good. Was that right? Was that the first year?
I wouldn't say he was really good, but he was good enough,
right, good enough. And people thought, well, he's just scratching the surface. And then look what happened. Mitch flamed out. He's out of the league, right? Maybe.
And they took him over Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. So, but what if he was...
I think he's still a backup. He might be still at Buffalo.
Why don't we get him? Once Sam gets us a big game and we move on from him, trade McCarthy to somebody that would want him, right? Because there's somebody that would want him. He's 10th overall pick. Great quarterback. Because we can take anybody and mold them and meld them and shape them.
We should get Justin Fields here.
There you go.
Talented player.
Trey Lance.
If he could make it work with Trey Lance, then he is the quarterback whisperer of quarterback whisperers.
How about Mason Rudolph?
Was he highly regarded?
I don't know.
I mean, he's played a little bit. Played in Pittsburgh, but...
Paxton Lynch. Remember Paxton? Marcus Mariota. He's still in the league, right?
He's still back, yeah. I think he's the backup at Washington right now.
He was part of that quarterback show, right?
Yes.
Cousins, Mahomes, and Mariota. What if he worked under KOC? Maybe he could be Sam Darnold. And the thing is we're never, ever going to find out. Someone now just said, see, again, accuracy is our middle name. Pretty sure KO never worked with Goff. I could have swore he did, didn't he? Wasn't he with that organization? I thought he was. If he's not, that's okay. It doesn't matter. We've never let the facts get in the way of a rant to try to get to the top of the hour. How about the contract that Juan Soto signed? I'm sure you saw that. Was it $765?
Maybe KO didn't get Goff. He was a staffer.
Okay. Was it $765? $765 million over 15 years. And somebody sent me, was it you who sent me this? The Juan Soto thing that they're like.
KO did get 1 year of Goff.
Yeah, see?
2020.
Yeah. So there you go. Trying to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I think you sent this one to me.
Yeah, so he had Goff's last season with the Rams.
Yeah. I knew he did.
And then was it Stafford's first season with the Rams that they won the big game?
I think it was. You didn't send me the story, and I wish I could find it again now. Somebody sent me a note about it. About the. Oh, wait. I think. Hold on. Here it is. There have been 7 contracts in NHL history to hit $100 million in total value. There have been 7 contracts in NHL history to hit $100 million in total value. All 7 combined still do not reach the contract that Juan Soto just signed.
You've got to be kidding me.
Ovechkin, Draisaitl, Weber, Crosby, Kovalchuk, McKinnon, and McDavid combined $753.2 million. Soto $765 million. Now that goes. The reason that is, we know that is that baseball generates more money than hockey does, but it's still amazing number.
If you recall, Parise and Suter didn't want the stigma of that 9-figure deal, so they got right under $100 million.
That's exactly right. They got under $100 million because of the stigma. But yeah,
it is pretty crazy to see baseball contracts through the roof, football contracts through the roof, basketball contracts through the roof. NHL, the salary cap goes up like $1 million or $2 million every year.
That's it. And it's just because of, they don't have that good TV money. It is more of a niche sport. It is more, for the most part, a regionalized sport.
Oh, maybe Kirill changes that.
Well, he could.
Because Kirill is going to get an 8-year deal. He'll get the max. And that's the other thing in NHL, you can only do 8-year max deals now. He'll get the max. He might be a $14 million guy.
This is certainly fodder for those who think, well, Major League Baseball, enough's enough. Major League Baseball needs a salary cap and a salary floor. And I'm not even saying it doesn't. We've talked about Pollad pocket protecting for years and how baseball you can spend as much as you want, and you're not limited to whatever your team generates at the box office or through local and national television and radio contracts. You can use your own personal wealth if you want, and we know he signed with the Mets, Metropolitans, Yankees. Which, that's the other thing, where they talk about New York and the Yankees being the biggest, but they do split the market with another major league team that's interested in spending money. So there are 2 teams in that city. Same with the Cubs. They have 2. Los Angeles has several teams, at least 2, right? So it's not like, in Minneapolis and St. Paul, there was just 1 team taking the money. In Houston, it's 1 team taking the money.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 2 teams using money. And then it's a 15-year contract. He's 26. He ain't going to be playing when he's 41. And again, that's probably, isn't it the Bobby Bonilla that still gets a check for like $1 million or $2 million every year? And he will until, I think it would be like to the year 25, 25. He'll still be getting that money. But, and here's the deal, though.
2035 for Bobby Bonilla.
The Yankees had Soto. Helped get him to the big game, but the World Series, they didn't win the World Series. So again, knowing the Metropolitans, they'll blow it anyways. You know, when was the last time they were in the series? Was it all the way back to 86? Wasn't that the Buckner?
Haven't we had a Subway Series since then? Didn't we have the Yankees match?
I think you're right. I think we may have had the Subway Series, so I'm wrong. You know me, that's all I do is give out bad information. That's all I do, is give out bad information. Rosen tomorrow. He'll join us. I'm curious to see his thoughts on the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings, Timberwolves, and he's been gone for a while. We'll get him locked and loaded.
So the Mets were in the 2015 World Series they lost to the Kansas City Royals in 5. And they were also in the Subway Series with the Yankees in 2000.
They must have won that.
Their last World Series win was 1986.
Yeah. Oh, the Yankees won in 2000?
The Yankees won that one, yes. Okay.
So it goes to show you the money you spend, and this has always been one of the arguments from the Polet Pocket Protectors. You know, Rosen, speaking of Rosen, Yankees spent all that money. When was the last time they won a World Series? Well, yeah, I mean, you could make that argument. And if that makes you feel better about your team not ever getting to the World Series or winning, that's great. But at least they're spending the money and giving it the effort, and they're still getting there every year. Those teams, they got the
team that wins it every year is in the top half.
Yeah, and they got a chip of spending chance. You're absolutely spot on. I see JG. He's in the other studio. He's in the production studio. Big Tickets right around the corner. So we go from unprepared, uninformed, and unapologetic to poised, polished, and professional. Teneby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed our visit with you today. Thanks for spending time with us. We appreciate it. Stick around. Big Tick and JG are next. We'll talk to him around 1. Ben Johnson at 12 noon tomorrow right here on The Fan.
Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good night, Minnesota.
Good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash. Wherever you are.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.